The wind whispers across the vast and undulating steppes of Mongolia, a landscape both beautiful and haunting, where the horizon is a seemingly endless expanse of grass and sky. Here, amidst the rolling hills and the haunting call of the eagle that soars above, the weight of history presses down. Sunlight glints off the icy surface of Lake Kurvskull, shimmering like a mirage, while shadows dance across the rugged mountains in the distance. It is a place where time feels unbound, and legends are stitched into the very fabric of the earth. Yet beneath this serene beauty lies the restless pulse of a world grappling with power, ambition, and the fragile spectre of human existence. In this remote land, nearly a millennium ago, a child emerged into a harsh and unforgiving reality. Born around 1162, in a time riddled with tribal feuds and the complexities of nomadic life, this child would one day grow to embody the duality of man. Gengis Khan, he would be called, a name that echoes in the annals of history, evoking images of ruthless conquest and unyielding strength. But who was he really? A monster to some, a visionary to others, a paradox wrapped in layers as thick as the furs worn by his kin. As you tread deeper into this narrative, consider the landscape itself, a canvas painted with shades of struggle and resilience. The Mongolian people lived in tightly knit tribes, their lives swaying to the rhythm of the seasons and the caprices of the weather. Families would gather around flickering fires in their jurs, sharing stories that merged myth with their turbulent reality. Yet these moments of warmth were often shattered by the clang of swords and the cries of battle. Tribes warred for dominance, forging alliances as transient as the clouds that drifted lazily above. Still, amid the chaos, a shared aspiration for unity throbbed at the heart of their existence, a yearning that would birth an empire. Gengis Khan grew up in the crucible of this conflict. The images of his youthful life are laden with contradictions, a blood-soaked legacy that looms like a storm cloud, but also the seeds of a visionary unification that would take root. Was he shaped by the relentless brutality surrounding him, or did he seek to transcend it? This question lingers in the air like the crisp chill of dawn breaking over the steppe. As we journey further back in time, visualize the vast expanse of Mongolia in the 12th century. Picture the treacherous terrain interspersed with rivers, mountains, and the scars of past battles. The steppes were a land of stark beauty, yet fraught with peril, where every horizon could mask either friendship or betrayal. Here, the lives of the ordinary were part of a grand tapestry, woven with threads of ambition, fear, and hope. Propelled by survival, the nomadic tribes wandered across the land, driven not only by the need for sustenance but by a deeper search for identity and place. Imagine the clatter of horse hooves across the ground, wild and relentless, echoing the fervor of those who longed to carve their mark upon history. Yet, Gengis Khan was not solely defined by the bloodshed he would unleash upon the world. Within his heart pulsed a stark imperative, a longing to heal the fractured wounds of his society. He witnessed the suffering of his people, the constant betrayals that alienated tribes and tore apart kinships. With a brutal clarity, he recognized that unity did not simply arise from strength. It demanded vision, resources, and an unwavering commitment to a cause greater than oneself. Such a revelation paints him as a paradoxical figure, a man capable of stepping beyond the brutality to harness the power encapsulated in a collective identity. In a culture steeped in shamanistic traditions, the whispers of the spirit world were vital. Gengis Khan himself, steeped in the lore of ancient spiritual practices, was not merely a conqueror with designs for power, but a leader who held an enigmatic connection to the forces that shaped his destiny. The stories of his past danced through the air, mingling with the primal breath of this land. Was there divine favor guiding him, or merely the relentless force of human ambition? As the line blurs between myth and reality, curiosity burgeons. What truly drove this child of the wind into the annals of enduring power? As we delve into the paradox that is Gengis Khan, a question hangs heavy in the atmosphere. Was he a product of his time, a monstrous reflection of unchecked ambition, or a visionary who sought to transcend the relentless cycle of violence tearing apart his world? Time and again, history throws up figures like Gengis Khan, who force us to grapple with uncomfortable truths about human nature. At his core, there lies an essential tension. The very traits that make him a brutal conqueror also intertwine with the ambitions that unified a land divided by strife. Life in the Mongolian steppe was not merely a fight for survival. It was a struggle for something far more profound, a struggle for meaning, identity, and legacy. As we uncover layers of Gengis Khan's story, we find ourselves entangled in a web spun from both blood and vision. To understand him is to navigate a convoluted path lined with paradoxes. This journey invites us to confront the complexities of power, the tenuous balance between creation and destruction, and ultimately the darker mirrors held up to our own nature. Now settle into this world steeped in ancient echoes and vast horizons, where secrets lurk beneath the surface of a seemingly simple story. Here, the ancient Mongolian land awaits, bearing witness to the rise of a figure destined to echo through the centuries. It is a tale of ambition, of vision, and of enduring enigma, one that challenges our very understanding of humanity as we prepare to peel back the layers of history and revelation surrounding Gengis Khan. As twilight begins to settle over the steppes, and the shadow of his legacy looms ever larger, nature and time woven together will unveil answers to questions steeped in the essence of our shared humanity. Who was he? What drove him to forge an empire? And in a world defined by conflict, how does he linger as both visionary and monster? The journey into the heart of history has only just begun. The vast Mongolian steppe, a stage where history's most enigmatic figures would later tread, was alive with the pulse of life and the whisper of age-old traditions. Its undulating terrain, dotted with nomadic settlements, spoke to an intricate web of social interactions shaped by generations of hardship and resilience. Here, families traversed the rugged expanses, their jurs, circular felt tents, scattered like clouds against the backdrop of the infinite sky. Each family unit was anchored in sound and symbiosis, harmonizing with nature itself. The rhythm of daily life pulsated with the cyclical seasons, and the relentless passage of time shaped a culture deeply intertwined with the land. In this milieu, we must contemplate the intimate connection between the geography of Mongolia and the evolution of its societies. The harsh climate dictated the nomadic lifestyle that defined the inhabitants. The short summers, with their bursts of wildflowers adorning the arid landscape, were fleeting, urging tribes to gather what resources they could to survive the unforgiving winters. The relentless winds that swept across the steppes carried not just dust, but also stories of tribal alliances and ancient fables whispered among the fires. To exist in this land required more than mere endurance. It demanded a profound understanding, honed over centuries, of the interdependence between humanity and nature, a dance of mutual reliance and at times ruthless competition. In the heart of these transforming landscapes, belief systems began to flourish, shaped by an understanding of the spiritual realms that hovered delicately around the mortal world. Shamanism, with its reverence for ancestral spirits and the natural forces, played a foundational role in the Mongolian psyche. Imagine for a moment the shaman in a trance, drawing forth wisdom from the skis, channeling the voices of ancestors to guide the living in their tumultuous journeys. The elders held sway not only through age but through their connections to the ethereal, their whispered wisdom paving pathways into the future while grounding the present in the solid embrace of tradition. As these elements intertwined, a society began to emerge, one poised on the edge of transformation, shaped by a tumultuous political landscape. Within the vastness of Mongolia, tribal movements were fluid, characterized by shifting allegiances and fierce rivalries. Each clan sought mastery over territory, resources, and the elusive bonds of loyalty. The clan leaders, called Khans, wielded both power and affection, a delicate balance that mirrored the very essence of their lifeways. These leaders were custodians of their people, their success intertwined with the fortunes of their kin. Yet ambition, like a subtle current beneath a placid surface, would begin to reshape the dynamics of the steppe. Even as they faced both external threats and internal rivalries, clans navigated the treacherous waters of political maneuvering, where trust was a currency rarely exchanged freely. The aggressive expansion of certain clans fostered a climate of tension, with war looming like dark clouds gathering over the land. Here in this simmering milieu, Gengis Khan would rise, a figure whose emergence stirred hopes and fears in equal measure. Building upon the legacies of those before him, Gengis would not merely engage in the strife, he would redefine it. His ascent illustrated the depths of ambition as he drew disparate tribes under his banner, forging an unprecedented unity from the shards of discord. His rise was prescient, a realization that collaboration held far greater promise than division. The tribes, once fractured by distrust, now began to see the allure of a shared identity, one capable of harnessing the myriad strengths present within the collective. As the winds of change began to swirl, so too did the dynamics of trade. The burgeoning Silk Road, an ancient thoroughfare of commerce, played a crucial role in this transitory period of Mongolian history. Trade routes weaving through the forbidding terrains connected the steppes to distant lands, the Middle East, Europe, and beyond. Traders would come to view Mongolia as not just a passage, but as a vital link between cultures, a mosaic of encounters that shaped lives in kinship with foreign influences. Exotic goods flowed through this network, bringing with them tales of kingdoms and peoples, beckoning the eyes of both the mundane and the ambitious to the horizons beyond. Still, amid these transformative forces, the foundational tensions persisted. As tribal leaders sought greater control, Gengis Khan emerged as an architect of power, embarking on a path that would compound the existing complexities. With a shrewd understanding of human nature, he recognized that it was not enough to vanquish rivals. He needed to entwine them into the very fabric of his vision. To persuade his enemies to join forces rather than face annihilation, Gengis leaped into political machinations that balanced fear and hope, a dance with both peril and promise. As this intricate tapestry unfolded, Gengis Khan stood on a threshold between worlds, harnessing the deep-rooted beliefs and rivalries that had shaped the Mongolian identity. He understood that the nomadic lifestyle, though harsh, bestowed individuals with profound psychological resilience. Driven by a collective memory of survival against adversity, the people possessed a tenacity that both frightened and inspired their foes. The gnawing fears of a fragmented society lingered in the air, particularly as rival leaders plotted to undermine one another. Yet beneath the surface chaos, hope flickered. Could unity transcend the bitter legacies of betrayal? This growing tension carried critical implications as political landscapes shifted around him. With each rising sun came whispers of discontent, a reminder of the precarious balance that sustained society. The moment would soon arrive, hovering like a breath before the plunge, where history would call forth figures willing to climb the walls of ambition and make choices that could shatter or rebuild. The deeper we peer into Gengis Khan's world, the more we realize it is a world not solely shaped by his indomitable will, but by the intricate web of influences and motivations at play. Geography painting the contours of identity, cultures mingling with spiritual beliefs to create narratives that span continents. Power, so often a chimeric force, danced upon the fringes, at once seductive and devastating, inviting the ascent of a figure whose ambition would forge an empire, yet also beckon unforeseen chaos. How does one navigate such transformations? The question echoes through the valleys of this ancient land, and its resonance grows ever more profound as we anticipate a moment on the horizon when Gengis Khan's ambitions would ignite a conflagration that forever altered the trajectory of history. In contemplating him, we come to grips with the essence of humanity itself, the longing for connection, the thirst for power, and the intricate dance of survival amidst unyielding forces that weave through the very fabric of existence. As sun and shadow play across the vast steppes, and the memory of kinship filters through the ancestry of the Mongolian tribes, we find ourselves at a precipice, peering into the depths of ambition, the undeniable force poised to spur both creation and destruction. With each heartbeat of this tale, the sense of something greater unfolds, beckoning us closer to the pivotal moments that await, challenging us to reflect on the interplay between the human spirit and the tides of fate. In this unfolding tapestry of history, we move forward, entwined in the air of anticipation, an invitation to embrace the complexities of a world in flux, where the shadows lengthen and the cries of a Khan echo on the winds of the ages. The vastness of the steppe now lies before us, holding its breath, as we prepare to venture deeper into a narrative rich with paradox and transformation. Underneath the vast expanse of the Mongolian sky, a life brimming with invisible rhythms continued. The air, fresh yet biting, was often filled with the spirited laughter of children chasing sheep across the hills, their small figures blending seamlessly into the landscape as the sun painted golden hues upon the earth. Families worked side by side, the echo of their labor forming a familiar music against the hills. The Jers stood resilient amid shifting winds, encircled by herds of horses, camels, and goats, each animal a vital cog in a life sculpted around mobility and sustenance. Family units were the heartbeat of Mongolian society, forming close-knit clusters bound by blood, loyalty, and shared burdens. In these familial circles, each woman played a pivotal role, contributing to food, weaving intricate textiles, and nurturing the next generation. Clan elders were revered, their wisdom a cherished anchor amid the uncertainties of nomadic existence, preserving stories that transcended time, narratives woven through the fabric of shared experience, binding generations together with threads of resilience. Food was central to their lives, not merely a necessity but an expression of identity and culture. Milk, the lifeblood of nomadic communities, flowed through the morning sun, as mothers gathered fresh energy from their yurts' well-worn hearths. Fermented mare's milk, called aerag, sparkled invitingly in earthenware bowls, its tangy taste an acquired delicacy integral to celebrations and ordinary moments alike. This drink, symbolic of their herding heritage, bore the spirit of the steppes, linking the mundane with the sacred, each sip a connection to the land, each gathering a reenactment of both toil and joy. Spirituality, too, was woven into their daily lives, baked into the very essence of existence. Shamanistic practices shone through every ritual, as families invoked spirits of ancestors before embarking on any significant endeavor. A shaman would often be called upon in times of great uncertainty, drumming a rhythm that reverberated with the pulsating heartbeat of the earth, connecting the seen and unseen. The link between the world beyond and the life within the Jers became as palpable as the warmth of the fur-lined walls, both nourishing the soul and guiding hearts through the ethereal swirl of life's unpredictability. Yet it was in these daily encounters, amidst shared meals and sunlit laughter, that the stirrings of change began to seep in, a whispering sign of an age on the cusp of transformation. The tensions of newly emerging conflicts, fueled by ambition and the rise of figures like Gengis Khan, posed questions that echoed through the valleys. Would unity among tribes shift the balance of power, or would it fracture under the weight of historical rivalries? As the winds carried tales of tribal politics and looming rivalries, families gathered around flickering fires, the shadows dancing on the canvas of their lives, reminding them of the profound yet precarious moments spent together. Those evenings wrapped them in warmth and reverie, a homely contrast to the winds that whispered darkly of conquest on the periphery. Architecture too played a crucial role in shaping this existence. The jers, with their round, felt-covered skin and wooden frames, were not mere shelter. They were embodiments of Mongolian spiritual and physical identity. Each element, from the hearth at the center to the entrance facing south, open to receive the sun, held significance. They symbolized the nomadic way of life, a fluidity that allowed for adaptability while still being rooted in traditions and the harsh reality of their environment. These structures could be dismantled, a ND Chinese letter built, echoing the transient nature of their lives and the call of the vast steppes, an invitation to embrace movement as both refuge and resilience. As Gengis Khan began to weave his own vision of unification and ambition for the scattered Mongolian tribes, he drew inspiration not just from the stars and ancestral spirits, but from the textile of everyday life. He recognized that in these simple moments, in the smoke billowing from jur chimneys, the sounds of children at play, the communal gatherings, and the passage of seasons, lay a profound understanding of human connection. It was through this lens of shared experience that he sought to bind the disparate tribes not in despair and conflict, but in a collective narrative, one where every person, every herder had a stake in the destiny that awaited them. But the shadows of the past loomed large, their complexity woven deeply into the Mongolian psyche. As potential allies gathered, whispers of betrayal lingered, fear stoked by the very fabric of tribal identity, a constant reminder that loyalty, while paramount, could be as ephemeral as the crisp morning fog. The intricacies of social hierarchy, deeply entrenched in nomadic cultures, gave rise to unease. One standing often dictated the balance of favors rendered, carving paths toward alliance or animosity, and painting the landscape with colors of ambition that could either uplift a people or plunge them into discord. As we journey deeper into this world, we can feel the weight of latent ambitions and potential rivalries, a tangle of dreams laced with anxieties that resonated through the lives of ordinary herders and ambitious leaders alike. Each day carried an electricity, as the whispers of past trades and the scent of livestock mingled with the brewing storms, foreboding yet unavoidable, both a warning and a herald. The vast arena of the plateau held possibilities as infinite as the fraying threads of unity. With every passing season, the landscape transformed, beckoning a question that hovered in the air. Would Gengis Khan's vision of unity quell the feuds tearing at the fabric of Mongolian identity, or would they drown in the tumult of their chaotic history? Those daily rhythms of life, the laughter of families, the soothing calls of the shaman, and the warmth of communal meals, clashed against the stark realization that change, like the fast-approaching storm, was on the horizon. As the pulse of Gengis Khan's ambitions began to quicken, so too did the awareness that these ancient conflicts did not simply fade like ghosts of the past. They were haunting reminders of what could spark future divisions. In the light of the flickering fires, while spirits were invoked and songs sung, the inhabitants of this vast empire would soon face the heady winds of transformation. The everyday life of a herder, once simple and rooted in tradition, now intermingled with a burgeoning ambition that promised to cross mountains and rivers in pursuit of greatness. Experimental tension hung palpably in the air. A dappled horizon of pastures turned toward destiny awaited the inhabitants of the steppe. What lay ahead held a profound duality. While dreams of unity danced on the edges of the people's consciousness, the thread of conflict's legacy weaved seamlessly through their bones, asking every person to reconcile what it meant to look both forward and inward, amidst the echoes of ancestral voices guiding them through the momentous path Gengis Khan was forging. The anticipated storm of ambition was drawing near, and as the shadows deepened upon the steppe, a question began to crystallize in the hearts of those who could feel the winds change. Would their lives continue to be dictated by the cycles of the common ground they shared, or would the tides of ambition ripple through to forge an irrevocable reordering of existence as they knew it? The stories of family, community, and ambition wound around each other, sparking a resonance that would mark the unfolding of history, one that would soon challenge the hearts, hopes, and very essence of what it meant to be Mongolian in an era standing panting at the edge of cataclysmic change. As the winds across the steppes began to shift, signaling a change that was more than atmospheric, the presence of Gengis Khan loomed larger than life. To understand this enigmatic figure is to traverse the tumultuous landscape of his ambitions, a man who would navigate the labyrinth of tribal politics with the precision of a masterful huntsman. In a world of harsh extremes, where survival hinged on unity yet often spiraled into conflict, Khan emerged not merely as a leader, but as a transformative force capable of weaving disparate threads into a singular tapestry of conquest. Yet beneath the surface, the complexities of the tribes remained an unrefined canvas laden with histories of betrayals and fragile alliances. Amidst the perpetual clash of interest, generations of internecine strife had forged an unquenchable thirst for power, manifesting itself in the ambitions of not just Gengis Khan but of countless chieftains throughout the land. The realm was alive with myriad emotions, where loyalty could erode as swiftly as ice beneath the sun's calculated gaze. The ever-present threat of betrayal loomed, tangible like the plumes of smoke rising from the Jers, marking the air with warnings that echoed through the valleys. The canvas of the Mongolian plateau bore witness to a pivotal moment, a shattering of the status quo that assembled upon the embers of ongoing tribal conflicts. United by a vision that transcended mere survival, Gengis Khan offered a promise whispered from hearth to hearth, drawing in ambitious spirits yearning for a semblance of stability amid the chaos. His audacity in recruiting various tribes, even those that had once been adversaries, demonstrated a political acumen rarely seen before. It was within these early gatherings, where bonds were formed and animosities reconsidered, that the spark of the Mongol Empire began to flicker brightly, its eventual flame promising to illuminate vast regions beyond their homeland. To behold the early conquests of Gengis Khan is to witness the rise of an ideology steeped in his unique vision of governance. Little remained unchanged as the world spiraled into a series of military campaigns, marked by churning dust and fierce horseback charges that tore through the very heart of established political systems. The structure of societal hierarchy faced a formidable challenge, as the tribes were rallied under a banner forged not purely from ambition, but from the evolutionary need to survive as one cohesive entity. Alliances formed, yet beneath the surface discontent brewed, a cauldron ready to bubble over. The spectre of uprisings against a singular dominion of power served as a somber reminder of the thin line separating unity from division. With each decisive battle, echoes of thrilling chants reverberated through the valley, the battle cries imbued with both fear and hope. Gengis Khan became not merely a conqueror, but a symbol of a greater cause, his image intertwined with the yearning for a shared identity among those who had long been divided. Yet, as triumph followed triumph, it became increasingly clear that the quest for a singular destiny forced ordinary people into the eye of a storm, a tempest that would either shape their existence or dismantle it completely. As the Mongol prowess expanded like a wildfire across the vast landscapes, the psychological fabric of the tribes began to metamorphose. What had once been survival defined by tribal loyalty transformed into a shared defensiveness forged through the harsh realities of impending warfare. Expectation crackled in the air, heavy with the grass-scented promise of a new order, one that heralded the transition from feudal loyalties to an overarching sense of belonging under the Mongol Empire. Yet this amalgamation of tribes came at a cost. Those who resisted the call of Gengis Khan faced drastically different consequences, their identities often erased or altered, their histories rewritten. The psychological toll of war rooted deeply in societal consciousness, breeding resentment even among those who prospered from the prowess of their master. Some embraced the newfound connectivity. Cities and trade routes blossomed like wildflowers in springtime, brimming with opportunities as the empire extended its reach far beyond Mongolia's rugged ranges. Roads paved with ambition replaced the contested boundaries of tribal conflicts, ushering in a nascent mercantile class that capitalized on the diverse exchanges birthed by conquest. The Silk Road, an ancient artery of commerce wound through lands far and wide, came to life as conveners of culture, ideas, goods, and knowledge transfigured the empire into a vibrant mosaic. Yet for every moment of growth, shadows lingered in the periphery. Gengis Khan's ambitious conquests and the very essence of his unifying policies carried with them an inherent contradiction. The ideals of unity and purpose often clashed against the backdrop of heavy-handed control, stifling the traditional structures that ordinary herders cherished. The fear of distant powers emerged, knitting itself into the hearts of newly conquered peoples, their dreams caught up in the gears of an expanding empire that demanded allegiance, often at the expense of their identity. Against this backdrop of expansion, stories of migration unfolded, the migration of cultures, people, knowledge, and belief. The vast reaches of conquest bore witness to the dispersing of tribes eager for a glimpse of the future that lay bright on the horizon yet laced with uncertainty. Schemes of governance morphed as Gengis Khan introduced a meritocratic system that often favored adaptability over bloodline, offering roles to those who excelled regardless of origin. Yet this restructuring threatened to dismantle the very foundation of tribal allegiances that defined the Mongolian way of life. Hearts were pulled tighter than a bowstring, each thread holding power precariously suspended in the air. Internal tensions were woven into the tapestry of an expanding empire, brimming ambitions rubbed against growing aspirations, contests of influence fracturing the semblance of unity pieced together under Gengis Khan's vision. Behind the grand aspiration for martial success, the reality of resource allocation and governance ignited conflicts among supporters and former adversaries. Promises smoldered in the glow of hearth fires, yet beneath the warmth lay unarticulated grievances, lurking like unseen predators, ready to pounce at any sign of weakness. As the years turned into decades, the horizon began to shimmer unsettlingly, hinting that an era marked by unparalleled expansion carried within it the seeds of its own decay. The death of Gengis Khan would mark a significant inflection point, a turning of tides, set against the backdrop of an empire that seemed to stretch eternally across both land and time. From the peaks of the Altai Mountains to the shores of the Caspian Sea, the world adjusted to accommodate an unprecedented amalgamation of beliefs and peoples, creating a juxtaposition that would ultimately redefine what it meant to exist in the shadow of such towering ambitions. Even as victories amassed, whispers grew louder, taking shape in the quiet corners of encampments and cities alike, embroidered into the fabric of evening gatherings that shared tales of loss and revenge with the taste of Arag lingering on their tongues. The return to simple lives, once stable yet always uncertain amid the throes of ambition, now labeled as anomalies in a newfound world order. The transformation towards the greatness promised by Gengis Khan offered both hope and foreboding, an unyielding reminder that power could birth both a legacy and its inevitable unraveling. Thus settled upon the vast expanse of the Mongolian steppe, a constellation of stories woven together against the pulse of time, reflecting aspirations entangled with an impending upheaval. History, echoing the resolute footsteps of Gengis Khan, whispered into the open sky, heralding an uncertain future where the ambitions of humankind rise and fall like the mountains in the distance. Here on the frontier of both dawn and dusk, every moment held the potential to reshape destinies mingling between dreams of unification and the age-old scars of ambition, the very tenor of human existence unfolding upon the ancient earth. Within the shifting sands of time, one cannot overlook the delicate nature of legacy, a fragile tapestry woven from the visionaries who dared to dream yet faced the harsh realities of the world. As the winds across the vast steppes began to whisper the inevitable passage of time, the fabric of Gengis Khan's once great empire began fraying at the seams. What had once felt indomitable now appeared marked by the scars of its aggressive expansion and the weight of fractured allegiances. The transition from a world of robust alliances to one of tenuous connections offered a glimpse into the vulnerability of dreams unfurling against the steady march of time. As generations began to drift from the unifying fervor of Gengis Khan, the historical echoes of once uncompromising loyalty started to resonate with tones of melancholy. Memories of shared victories began to wane, replaced by the enduring realization that what had united them could also cleave them apart. The notion of unity, initially forged on the anvil of ambition, started to splinter under the strain of diverging interests and competing legacies. In the aftermath of Gengis' death, the sprawling expanse of his empire transformed into a patchwork of competing factions, each vying for a piece of power, each wrestling with the memories of a leader who had effortlessly commanded respect and allegiance. In cities formerly buzzing with the spectacle of trade and cultural exchange, echoes of discord resounded within the once harmonious heart of the empire. The intricate dance of trade routes, vibrant with promises, turned erratic as the political landscape shifted beneath the feet of merchants who had thrived under Gengis Khan's auspices. The ambitious dreams of a singular empire began dissolving into competing city-states, their very existence tethered by memories of shared endeavors that began to morph into nostalgic longings. Yet amongst this looming fragmentation, the forces of adaptation began to stretch their tendrils, intertwining themselves amidst the ruins of former grandeur. The nomadic tribes that had once marched unified under a singular vision began to re-examine their identities, navigating the pathways of shifting loyalties and newfound aspirations. The call of their heritage whispered through the winds, an enduring reminder of their past, searching for stability amid the rising tides of change. Some groups returned to their traditional ways, others sought to create new alliances born of necessity, while an emerging mercantile class reflected the dynamic character of a society in constant motion, shifting identities as fluidly as the rivers that carved through the hills. The land itself transformed alongside these changes, its contours shaped by historical forces forged in ambition and grafted onto the bodies of its people. As the fragmented empire struggled to maintain its cohesion, the landscape bore witness to the tug-of-war between the ideals of unity and the complexities of burgeoning diversity. Isolated communities adapted by merging traditional practices with external influences, an array of materials and ideas flowing through an empire now defined by its contradictions. A new mosaic emerged, where migrants shared knowledge and customs intermingled. The songs of the past hummed alongside innovative narratives that reflected resilience in the face of uncertainty, yet adaptation inherently birthed challenges and dilemmas. As cultures intertwined, the struggle for identity escalated to the forefront, questioning the commitments individuals held to both their ancestral roots and the evolving narrative of a modern world. Riaz, a young herder, stood at the precipice of this change. Torn between loyalty to his family's ancient ways and the vibrant promises of the new urban centers that dotted the plains, he navigated the delicate balance between honoring history and embracing possibility. The push and pull of tradition weighed heavily on his introspective spirit, invoking echoes of his ancestors who had carved their lives into the very earth he now roamed. From the shadows cast by Gengis Khan's legacy, more than mere cultural shifts erupted. The political systems, once robust and tightly knit, exhibited signs of institutional fatigue. Defections arose among once steadfast supporters, secret alliances formed in hushed tones sewn under a cloak of mistrust. As internal rebellions simmered, those who rose to power claimed the narratives of heroism as their own, often motivated not by the ideals Gengis Khan championed, but by the feuds that sliced through the fabric of society like a scythe through grass. Memories of treachery lingered, just as the scars of conquest left a deep imprint on the collective psyche. Historically, the consequences of Gengis Khan's insatiable ambition began to manifest in unexpected ways. The once feared and revered empire, spanning vast distances, now teetered on the brink of collapse, its grandeur overshadowed by a bone-weary populace yearning for peace and stability more than conquest and glory. The ambitions of its chieftains often reflected the unrefined aspirations of those who maneuvered for control, rather than the shared dreams of a united Mongolian identity. In this labyrinthine struggle for dominance, the aspirations of a singular legacy slowly morphed into a tragic cycle of fragmentation and resettlement, traditional ways of life challenged by the inherited weight of expectation. Yet even as fragmentation brewed, a pulse of life coursed through the empire. The lessons learned from triumphs and failures sowed seeds for future generations as they grappled with the convoluted legacies of their ancestors. The steppes, once dominated by the galloping hooves of warriors, now cradled families yearning for permanence. The scars of conflict served as a foundation, an opportunity for young leaders to rethink the fabric of governance. Meritocracy mingled with remnants of feudalism, breathing new life into an otherwise tired hierarchy. The landscapes once shaped by ambition and bloodshed now carved pathways for reflection, intertwining hopes and histories amidst an evolving narrative that beckoned adaptation. A subtle irony emerged from the ashes of Gengis Khan's dominion. Even as political systems struggled to recapture the vitality once associated with his vision, society itself began experiencing slow yet profound transformations, reshaping the very identity of the Mongolian people. Across generations, stories evolved, wrapped in the whispers of the wind, tales of survival transformed into legends, their lessons echoing through time's passage as a reminder of both the fragility and resilience of human spirit. The steppes would remember the dreams woven amidst their grasses, and they would bear witness to the ongoing dance of ambition, decay, and reinvention echoing through generations, fluctuating between the grand tapestry of history and the poignant reality of shared lives. In the slow march of time, history swayed like the grass-studded hills, ebbing and flowing, inviting contemplation. Among the memories of triumph and loss, Khan's legacy continued to unfold, a cycle ingrained within the hearts and minds of survivors prepared to navigate the unknown and recalibrate their stories amidst a world irrevocably changed. Here in the aftermath, new hopes and trajectories emerged, each moment an invitation to reckon with the complexities of ambition carefully entwined with the humanness of aspiration, navigating the currents of history with a newfound awareness, the future unfolding just within reach. And so the great question loomed, echoing once more, what truly remained of Gengis Khan's empire, and in that question lay the profound relationships between power, ambition, and the unyielding ties of memory. This enduring legacy would persist, wresting itself from the shadows and beckoning those who dared to walk the intricate paths of history, onward into the enigmatic embrace of time. Until the sun dipped below the horizon and peace settled like cool twilight on the steppe, the echoes of the past would continue to blend with the rustling leaves and whispering winds, inviting quieter reflections on lives forever altered by ambition's unrelenting pursuit. As we draw closer to the fading echoes of Gengis Khan's profound legacy, we enter a realm imbued with the whispers of an enigmatic past, a tapestry woven not solely from the threads of conquests and battles, but from the delicate, nuanced memories of those whose lives were irrevocably shaped by his ambitions. Here in the heart of Mongolia, the vast steppes continue to unfold, a vast canvas where the contours of history ripple softly against the horizon, painting a landscape of both loss and continuity, a lingering testament to the human spirit across time. With the shifting of empires comes not merely the winding and unwinding of alliances, but an intricate transformation of cultural identity that ebbs and flows like the gentle undulations of the ground beneath the hooves of diligent horses. The simplistic frame once defined by conquest began to dissolve into a more complex narrative. The men and women, who were both agents of and witnesses to history, strove for meaning amid the ruins of what was, grappling with the steep price of ambition. As the sun grazed the horizon, cloaked in a warm robe of golden hues, it cast long shadows over the surely forgotten sites of immense battles, places now quiet and still, a silence that reverberates with the weight of memory. It is within this silence that we find the essence of survival, a survival interwoven with the very threads that once announced the might of a unified Mongolian empire. The bones of these institutions cling to the earth, remnants of civilizations that sought to organize the chaos that inevitably accompanies ambition. As the steppes rolled across the landscape embracing nomadic practices, these ancient traditions began to intertwine seamlessly with burgeoning new realities, creating a mosaic reflective of both history and hope. The families who tended their herds in the shade of each giant yurt became the caretakers of Gengis Khan's memory, not through recitation of glorious tales of conquest, but by embracing the very essence of resilience in their daily lives, stitched into the fabric of existence. Yet as new generations inherited these stories, they began to reframe their understanding, each interpretation colored by the complexities of shifting histories. Amongst the dust of faded records, some chose to remember Gengis Khan as a fearsome conqueror, while others began to regard him as a visionary leader whose impact ignited the fires of cultural exchange and innovation. The narratives constructed in the wake of his passing morphed in tandem with the epochs they encountered, redefining memory as an ongoing discourse between preservation and transformation. It is here, amid the fields and mountains layered with the weight of historical meaning, that we truly contemplate the tapestry of human experience, how the triumphs of yesteryear soften in the hands of those who articulate history. In places where bustling markets once thrummed with the lifeblood of trade, echoes of human connection still persist. These echoes ripple through generations. The songs sung by merchants weaving tales of distant lands inspire hopeful imaginations embarking on new journeys. As people traverse the landscape once ruled by war, they uncover the remnants of the past, shattered pottery among the grass, crumbling stones of a forgotten fort, and the sense of loss mingling with bittersweet nostalgia. Each fragment invites a recollection of not just what was felled by the force of Gengis Khan's ambition, but also what was built upon its foundation, echoes of craftsmanship, community, and life itself. It is within this reflective journey that we uncover profound truths about the nature of humanity, the undying urge to innovate, to retain connections to the past while forging new paths forward. As stories interlace through time, they provide an ample narrative rich with lessons, a reality that stretches far beyond the intentions of a ruler and encompasses the whole of the people, their hopes, resilience, and shared experiences. The winds whisper gently, reminding us that the essence of this empire, while marked by ambition and upheaval, also bore forth a legacy uniquely human, a resilience mirrored by the landscape that surrounds them. Through the lens of time, the remnants of Gengis Khan's empire fade and transform, much like the steppes at dusk turning from vibrant green to muted shades of grey. They quietly embody a legacy that persists through cultural traditions, the dance steps of rituals performed under the evening skis, the sweet melodies of oral histories deftly passed down from generation to generation, now carried in the hearts of a people searching for grounding among the complexities of modernity. What once was a realm of powerful institutions has evolved into a living testament of survival, a celebration of identity who reverberates with echoes of the past yet remains profoundly present. For as we wander through these landscapes, reflecting on the endless cycle of rise and fall, we increasingly recognize the persistence of human nature amid challenges that mirror those faced centuries ago. In each heartbeat lies the whisper of dreams pursued and dreams deferred, an acknowledgement of the messy complexity intertwined within our humanity. The stories etched in the fabric of memory resound, reminding us that empires can crumple but the essence of human experience, our aspirations, our fears, and our connections endure. They shift, adapt, and transform, unfurling in the hands of those willing to engage with the past and envision new horizons. And as we draw the curtains on this journey, the sun dips below the skyline, casting its final luminescence over a landscape steeped in history. The fires of Gengis Khan flicker softly in the distance, his ambitions forever entwined with the narrative of a people who danced along the edges of his formidable shadow. In this calm twilight, as the world around us hushes, we are invited to engage one last time with the enigmatic relationship between power, ambition, and the enduring human hope for legacy, a legacy that flourishes not in monuments of stone or shimmering rewards, but in the warm presence of shared memory and quiet understanding. So let us carry forth these reflections into the stillness of the night, where the whispers of the ancestors mingle with our own dreams of tomorrow, guiding each step within the gentle embrace of history, a reminder that beneath the staggering complexities of life, the quiet pulse of humanity continues to echo across time, lingering softly like the afterglow of an ancient world as we slowly leave it behind.